Hello, my name is Jonatan, and in this video we're going to look into the school in Denmark. We're going to look into inclusion, and I will focus on the IC3 model. The main thought in this perspective is from a qualitative inclusion perspective. Qualitative inclusion is when the child considers itself to be included. You can be included in three ways: academically, physically, and socially. You need to be included in all three areas to be included. By categorizing three areas of inclusion, we can identify where a child is and is not included. Through this identification, we can develop specific actions that strive for more inclusion. This is the main thoughts in the theory behind the IC3 model, which I'm now going to present. The IC3 model is developed by Rasmus Alenkær. That's the guy here on the right. He's a psychologist and PhD. And he developed the IC3 model, which is a tool to analyze the grade of inclusion of a person. It could be a child or an adult. And the IC3 model is a used model and analytical tool for professionals in relation to inclusion. When we're using the IC3 model, we might look into what is in fact inclusion. And well, inclusion is a dynamic and sustained process that aims at developing opportunities for every human being in a society's general arenas. But you can also say that there are two main types of inclusion. You can say that there is a quantitative inclusion. That is, for instance, a number of pupils included. In Denmark, we strive for a certain amount that is included in the school. But you can also take another stance here, and let's say qualitative inclusion instead. Here is the pupil's own experience of inclusion. That means it's not whether you are in a school, in a normal school or not. That is not inclusion in itself. It might be from a quantitative perspective, but not a qualitative perspective. Qualitative inclusion is when we ask a child, do you feel included? And the child responds, yes. Then we can talk about qualitative inclusion. So the question might be, but how and when can we experience to be included? And that is an answer that Alenkær offers an answer to. His answer is the IC3 model, which I'm going to describe now. Alenkær is stating, well, we can be included academically. That means that the academical problems or the task in the school, we can in fact solve them. We can do the task in the school academically. We can read, or we can write, or we can do math. But it's not the only way we can be included. We can also be included physically. That means that we are physically able to go into the room. If we are in a wheelchair, we can physically get with our wheelchair into the classroom, or we can hear what the teacher is saying. So we are physically able to be there in the classroom. But we can also be socially included. That means that we socially can be a part of the group, of the community, cooperation with peers, with other pupils, with other teachers. So when we see Erik here, Erik is socially included. Maybe he knows how to play with his mates. Unfortunately, he's not physically included and not academically included. So we might say that Erik is included socially, but not physically and academically. We can also look to Christina and say, well, where's Christina here? Well, we can say, well, she's very good in cooperation with the other pupils. She's very good in solving the task in the school. But physically, she's not included. She has a hard time being in the class. Maybe there's too much noise, so she physically needs to move out of the classroom. That means that she might be included socially and academically, but not physically. We also have Frederick. Well, Frederick, he have a lot of conflict with the other pupils, so he's not socially included. He can't really solve the task, and also physically he gets a lot of anxiety if he has to stay in the same room, so he might not be physically included in the school. So he's excluded. He's not part of the inclusion at all. And then we might have Anna. Anna, she's both socially included, academically included, and physically included. The IC3 model, you also see why it has its name here, because it consists of inclusion and circles, and there's 3 of them. So the 1, 2, 3, the IC3 model. That is a tool, and that's a way of identifying which pupils, which students do we have where, who's included and who's not. When we look into how we use the IC3 model in the Danish school, we use it in collaboration with colleagues to develop actions towards more inclusion. So that means that when we look at our class, for instance, with our co-teachers, we can ask, oh, is Christina included in your lessons, or is Christian included or excluded, or I sort of sense that that Anna is not included. What do you think here? So it is an analytical tool we can use to identify if all our students are included, and if they are not included, where, in which circle are they not included. So that means we can develop different actions. I was so lucky visiting a Danish school, and here some of the teachers had found out that some of the students, some of the pupils in the school was not academically included. They were excluded academically. And it was because that the teachers were expecting that the students, the pupils, would be able to take responsibility of their own learning process and be very independent. And most of the pupils were able to do that, but unfortunately some weren't. So the teachers tried to make these posters to help these children become more independent in their approach to learning. So here it says in Danish, do you need help? And the teachers had experienced that these children, if they really need help or didn't know how to do the task, they would just sit up with their hand and wait until the teacher came by. And they could take several minutes, and in that time they wouldn't learn anything, they wouldn't solve the task. So instead, the teachers here in this class tried to remind the students about, well, first, think with your brain how to solve this task. If that doesn't work, then look in your book. If that doesn't work, then ask your body, ask the pupil next to you. And if that not works, then ask the boss, the teacher. So here, the children became much more independent. They got these posters that remind them, oh, I have several strategies to be able to solve these tasks. I visited another school. In this school here, there were some of the students that really had difficulty staying in the classroom because there was so much noise. It wasn't negative noise. It wasn't because the children was yelling and making a lot of disturbance. No, it was just because a lot of the children helped each other and were discussing in groups. And some of the children just got so much stress. So in fact had to leave the classroom, which meant that they were not physically included. Instead, the teachers handed out some of these to put on the ears so they would stop the noise. So it would be much more calm and cozy to be in the classroom, not that stressful. So the children here began to be able to stay in the classroom and in fact be physically included. I visited another school. In this school here, socially, these children were very much into playing with these balls. And it was some kind of game where you would throw the ball at each other, and the last one who didn't was hit with the ball, he won the game. And there was a lot of unwritten, unspoken, a lot of not mentioned rules in this game to make it work. Most of the children knew how the rules were, and they were all socially included. But some of the children, they didn't know about all these not mentioned rules, and they couldn't really figure out these not mentioned rules by themselves. So they in fact got socially excluded. They weren't allowed to go into these games with the balls. But then the teachers, they made all the rules transparent by writing them on posters on the wall. So now the children had discussed with the teacher, okay, how is the good rules in this ball game? And all the rules were put on the wall. So every child in the class were able to see what is expected of me when we play these ball games. So the ones who were socially excluded because they were breaking the rules all the time had a much better chance of being socially included because now they knew the rules, both the spoken and the unspoken rules. When we take a perspective on the whole of this IC3 model and theory of Alenkær, we can state that a child are qualitatively included when the child itself thinks it is included. You can be included academically, physically, and socially. And you need to be included in all three areas to in fact be included. You can use the IC3 model in a teacher team to identify children that might not be included in all three areas. And when you know where some children are not included, you can know where to implement specific actions towards more inclusion. That was the theory of Alenkær, the IC3 model. Just to mention myself, who am I? My name is Jonatan calling Karnøe. I'm a psychologist and master in change management, and I am associate professor at the University College Absalon in Denmark. Thank you.